Great. Thank you so much, Judge.
Small businesses have suffered the most during this downturn. Here with a small business perspective on the president's plans for the economy is former NFL quarterback, former hero to Judge Napolitano, and now successful businessman Fran Tarkenton. Fran, it's a pleasure. Welcome to Freedom Watch.
Thank you, Judge. Glad to be with you.
This administration is clearly anti-business. This administration has people like you, small businessmen who produce wealth and prosperity in its crosshairs. Why does it have people like you, Fran, in its crosshairs?
Well, the people out here in the real world of small business entrepreneurs are uncertain and they're angry because all they've heard this president say is, let's redistribute the wealth and let's raise taxes on the rich, and the rich being $200,000 of income and more. See, we've got big companies moving their operations and their headquarters and some presidents over to Switzerland and over to Ireland because they can pay not 35% corporate rate, they pay a 17% corporate rate. They're doing that. That's good business for them. The small business entrepreneur, we cannot do that. We're really paying individual income taxes, and we're paying 40 to 50% of the income taxes. And if he wants to get rid of the millionaires, we've already been able to do that. The IRS came out just in the last day or two.
Right.
And we see between 2007 and 2009, we've reduced the number of people that earned $1 million or more in this country by 39%, and the tax revenue from them by 42%.
All right. Well, they don't understand. They don't understand that when they undercut small business people like you, and it is small business people that employ the majority of Americans, that they increase unemployment, and that produces lower tax revenue. So it actually has the opposite effect of what they claim they're trying to bring about.
Yeah, and you really have a problem here, and this president and the people around him don't come from the private sector. They don't really understand the private sector. They don't understand entrepreneurs. 70% of every business in this country is a sole proprietorship. 90+% of all the businesses are 20 employees or less. This is where the job growth is, and yet we don't have a seat at the table. The people that come to Washington to meet with Barack Obama are the union leaders and the Wall Street people and the chairman of General Electric, Jeffrey Immelt, who pays no taxes from the great GE Corporation. He doesn't understand this group because he's really never had a job in the private sector.
All right.
He's been on scholarship or he's worked for the government, and he doesn't have a background. So that's why in almost 3 years of his administration, he hasn't had a plan for us.
Let me suggest,
now he's going to have a plan in September.
Let me suggest this to you, Fran, that it's actually worse than you're painting it. The president doesn't understand basic economics 101. The people around him worship FDR and the central planning that he visited upon us in the 1930s. And now the president's people today, in the middle of August, hinted that when he comes back in September with his proposal, whatever it is, he's going to be looking for $800 billion in new taxes. Question. When he drops hints like that, doesn't that visit instability into the market? Doesn't that stop you from planning on how you're going to make investments because you don't know what the tax rate will be because he's threatening to increase it?
Well, it creates uncertainty, and we in the private sector, the small business entrepreneur, we're the taxpayer. So we're not hiring, and there's no growth in entrepreneurship in this country right now because we cannot spend more than we make. And so we've got to be more conservative. We've got to keep our cash. We've got to keep our powder dry because we're scared to death of this president and what he will do. And who thinks that if we send the government more money, they're going to be efficient with it and do something that's good for the economy? They have no chance. Nobody believes that.
Fran, you are as tough today as you were when you threw that football for the Vikings and the Giants. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Judge.
The White House is talking about everything from jobs to an infrastructure bank. But is that just a tactic to distract?